Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update this channel daily. If you like this watch, I don't blame you. You can see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing the Breguet You Imagine. This is the 7047 Tradition Grand Complication, a watch released in 2012. The example you see here is 41 millimeters in platinum with the most grandiose domed and cambered sapphire I've ever seen on a watch, costing south of $400,000. Now, not much south of $400,000, but let me explain. I want to wind this watch up in a moment so you can see it come to life. That's why it's not beating. So the bare measurements, 41 millimeters in diameter. It's not as thick as it looks, 16.2 millimeters. Across the wrist, it is big, but not huge, 50.5 millimeters. You can wear this watch comfortably on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. The spacing between the lugs, a very contemporary 22 millimeters. The strap, equal in appointments and quality to the case itself. Big, large rectangular scale alligator leather, the highest grade, black, folded edges, monotone stitch, semi-gloss finish, calfskin on the underside with a contrasting stitch on the underside, Breguet factory strap naturally, and a Breguet factory deployant clasp in matching platinum. This is how it should always be done. You should get a clasp in the metal that matches the case. Breguet does not disappoint, offering security, which you will want while donning or removing this watch and protecting you from droppage. The case band cold rolled and then hand finished to create this coined pillar-like profile. So this is a very expensive method of making a case, as is soldering a lug onto a case. An old school way of making a case. It's manual labor intensive. You weld the lug onto the case band and then you manually remove any evidence of the soldered joint to create a perfect cleft seam between them and no evidence that they were ever bonded together. The strap, as should be on a watch of this value, fixed with a screw and a bar, not a spring bar. And of course, Breguet style crown. You will note there's a little bit of a lip and overlap between the case band and the bezel as well as the case back. There's also a domed profile about the bezel. In the form of the case band, it's much like a modern FP Journe, or perhaps FP Journe is drawn from this inspiration. But the bottom line is things start to happen when you get to that polished bezel and that epic domed sapphire, and it is epic. It's almost like a plexiglass. I've never seen a sapphire like that on a Breguet. Now, let's start the tourbillon. I promised you I would. I wanted you to see it come to life, and you're going to get the full benefit of seeing that tourbillon structure, its overcoil, its free sprung balance, and the titanium balance with gold balance screws inside a titanium tourbillon cage. Now, it springs to action. I'm going to give it a few turns, and I want you to see this watch, also a fusee, transferring its chain. Fusee and chain, a constant force device dating back to late Middle Age watchmaking. It's basically like the gears of a bicycle. The chain moves from essentially a stiff gear ratio that creates very little mechanical advantage to one that gives far more mechanical advantage, like going into the low gears of a bike. So as the 50-hour power reserve discharges, the same amount of force reaches the escapement. That is the point of a fusee and chain. It's an ancient constant force device, and one that involves hundreds of pieces and micro-mechanical assembly. You'll also note that the tourbillon carriage itself beats away at a very stately and traditional 18,000 vibrations per hour. High-tech stuff. You saw those solid gold balance screws and the titanium balance designed to move the moment of inertia, or I should say move the mass to change the polar moment of inertia to speed up or slow down the watch. You'll also note overcoil hairspring as in the day of Breguet. So if the tourbillon itself does not even out the effects of gravity on the escapement, the overcoil hairspring, which beats concentrically in any position, will. You are looking at Breguet's own manufacturer caliber 569. This is a monster. 43 jewels, 542 pieces, all of them hand finished. And though it does look a little bit like an unfinished caliber when you regard it at a glance, it's actually a blasted surface with mirrored anglage, and you can see it lighting up on the edge of each of these antiquarian style half bridges. You'll also note that the wheels are cut like an old pocket watch or clock, so they have a modern silvered finish, but they are of a vintage profile. Gorgeous on the back and open, but all of the excitement is on the front, where you have that tourbillon, where you have The solid gold dial with Breguet-style hands and blued screws fixing it to its base. The dial is cut on a rose lathe that Breguet has purchased for this purpose. It is not stamped guilloche. It is cut. The hands are steel and heat blued, not chemically dyed. And this is a solid gold dial blank that is then silvered after manufacture. Everything meticulously hand-finished, a maze to beguile the mind and arrest the eyes. This is a work of art that also doubles as a case study in mechanical engineering. These are the objects for which the Museum of Modern Art was created. And if you're a New Yorker like me, you can picture this thing taking pride of place in the MoMA. 30 meters water resistant, so it's no sports watch, but then again, as I've often said, with a watch like this, if you get it wet, if you take it swimming, I'm not sure we can be friends. And for that matter, I'm not sure Breguet and Marie Antoinette, whose subscription watches inspired this, wouldn't be spinning in their respective graves. See it and make it yours on the Watchbox.